Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the HVAC Mergers and Acquisition podcast. On this podcast, we're going to talk about how to prepare your HVAC business to get the best price and best terms when you sell, how to acquire HVAC companies, and how to merge HVAC companies together. So we're going to be covering a lot of topics related to HVAC mergers and acquisitions. And today we're going to be talking about, I have my notes here, so let me take a look. Okay, different types of investors, right? We're going to talk about different types of investors. And granted, this is not investment advice. This is not tax advice. This is just us having a conversation and me sharing my personal opinion. Okay. So a little bit of background. My family's been in the HVAC industry for 3 generations. I've been in the HVAC space for 20 years. And I love the space of mergers and acquisitions, and that's where I'm focused on, and that's where I'd love to help you. So different types of investors, right? So let's start with one, private equity groups, right? And granted, I can't put all private equity groups into one category because there's lots of different types of them. But I'll tell you what they're looking for typically, right? Typically, they're looking for high profit levels, typically above $1 million in EBITDA, right? And a lot of times they provide really good pricing and really good terms, right? So if you can get a private equity group to buy your business, that's not a bad thing at all, because many times they have capital ready to deploy and they're just looking for a business that fits their criteria. And so that's one type of buyer. So if you want to get in with that type of buyer, get your profit as high as you can, build out your team member, and if you're an owner, try to distance yourself from the company. Make it to where your team is running the business and you're not running the business, right? So the further you distance yourself, the better, right? So service contracts, another big one, right? So and private equity groups a lot of times are looking for a company that is kind of professionally managed. It's not run by the owner. It's not dependent on the owner to where if the owner goes away, the business doesn't completely collapse and fall apart. So that's one type of buyer. And different private equity groups have different criteria, but that is one category of buyer. And ultimately, you probably want to find a private equity group that has some experience in HVAC, right? That could be helpful, right? Not to say that they can't bring on team members that have the expertise, but if you had a private equity group that has some experience in that space, then and they have a track record of proven performance, then that can help when it comes to the security of your team. And in some cases, right? Every situation is different, right? So every buyer is going to be looking for synergies when they buy your company. They may not need as many dispatchers or finance people and that sort of thing. So that happens regardless of the acquisition. There's also strategic buyers, right? These are existing HVAC companies that are looking to expand. They're looking to get more revenue and profit and team members, or get into another geography. And so that's another type of buyers. Those can be great buyers, right? So you just got to be careful with who you're talking about, because you could end up sharing a lot of information with your competition. So you don't want to do that, obviously. You want to have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements in place. Have the right contracts in place. Talk to your M&A attorney about making sure you're protected, especially when talking to strategic buyers. And of course, there's other types of buyers as well they could be individual investors, right? And those vary. So you're going to have to ask a lot of questions around those types of investors to make sure that whoever takes over your company is going to run it and not run it into the ground, right? It's going to protect your team members and that sort of thing. And part of what buyer you work with may be contingent on what you would like to see happen to your business after the sale. So have that conversation with the buyer on what's their vision for your business. What do they plan to do with your business? And so be thinking about that. And there's value in each of these different types of buyers. And I think if you really think about it, you could think about, what do you want? What do you want most? And which buyer aligns with what you want most. So hopefully you found this helpful. Stay tuned for future episodes of the podcast.